To go to Nate, who has a special guest.
Certainly do. A bit of concerning news, team. It's official. Global average temperatures have been at or above the Paris Climate Agreement target of 1.5 degrees above average for 12 months in a row now. So is it too late to do anything about it? Kim Reid is from Monash University School of Earth, Atmosphere and Environment, and she joins us now in the studio. A very good morning to you, Kim. I wish we could be talking about something a little less grim than this. What does it mean?
Well, thanks for having me, Nate, and unfortunately it is the nature of the job. I think I came on a year ago talking about how we might breach 1.5 for the first time, and now 12 months later we've breached it for 12 months in a row. I guess what's important to remember is that in the context of the Paris Agreement, the IPCC defines this 1.5 threshold as having breached it for a 20-year period. So in terms of this Paris Agreement, we haven't quite met that threshold, but we are likely at the start or the early middle of this 20-year period.
Right, so it's 20 years because that's how long we have to consider, well, that's how long we've chosen to consider when we're thinking about climate, right? So being at or just slightly above this target is really probably only the mid-range, right? Given that it'll be an average.
That's right. So annual temperatures vary from year to year due to factors such as El Nino and La Nina. And during typical El Nino years, we tend to get warmer than average global temperatures. So the record-breaking years of the past have pretty much always been El Nino years, and we had an El Nino at the end of 2023, which is why we likely saw these record-breaking temperatures. As we shift to neutral and potentially a La Nina, will likely reduce our temperatures again. However, the background warming is still there, so we are still rising, although there are year-to-year peaks and drops of this temperature.
Look, El Nino years, yes, they're hotter, but this one was quite significantly record-breaking. We weren't talking like a tiny little here and there every now and then. This was consistently very, very much warmer than what we've had in the past.
Yeah, that was what was so phenomenal. It's just the magnitude of how much we broke these records. And we had 3 years of La Nina previously, so it was likely a lot of this heat was being stored in the ocean. And as we flipped to an El Nino, this heat was able to rise up to the atmosphere, and that's why we felt these warm temperatures. Scientists do expect an acceleration of warming as we actually cut our emissions, and as we're cleaning up our industries, not only are we reducing our emissions, we're actually reducing the amount of solar reflecting pollution that's in the atmosphere.
Right, so cleaning things up could actually contribute more to warming because it's not preventing those rays from hitting the Earth. Yeah,
it's a weird side effect where things will likely get worse before it gets better, and it'll be a short-term warming for an ultimately long-term cooling, so we should still be cutting our emissions.
Right, but we've got to be careful because we're looking like we're going back into another La Nina, which could mask a bit of the heat that's going on. Have we hit a tipping point, do you think?
I don't think we've hit a tipping point yet. I think this breaching of 1.5 for the last 12 months isn't a death knell, but it is a fire alarm that we need to wake up and we need to put out this fire. Scientists actually do expect an overshoot. So even our low emission climate scenarios that go into climate projections actually predict that we will pass 1.5, but we will come back down below 1.5 by the end of the century if we sufficiently cut our emissions. So breaching 1.5 initially isn't the end of the world, but we do need to ramp up our efforts to make sure we are back below 1.5 by the end of the century.
All right, so all is not lost. Kim, just very quickly and finally, how does this make you feel?
I think it makes me feel quite frustrated. I mean, fundamentally, this warming is predominantly caused by the burning of fossil fuels, by the burning of coal, oil and gas. And therefore, any further developments to coal, oil and gas is directly at odds with maintaining a safe climate and all the scientific advice. So if that makes you angry, call your local MP and tell them that you want them to stop throwing coal, oil and gas on this fire because we need to put it out.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry you have to do the work you do, but I'm glad it's you that's doing it.
Thank you for having me.